Welcome everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on structures for innovation. Today, we'll be exploring how different organizational structures can foster innovation and drive strategic success. We'll cover key concepts from Chapter 8 of the Strategic Management course, focusing on different approaches that enable organizations to innovate effectively. So, stay with me as we dive into strategies that can transform the way your organization approaches innovation. Let's take a closer look at the key elements that make up a successful organizational framework. First, we have strategy, which is essentially our game plan, the vision and direction that guide everything we do. Then there's structure, the way we organize ourselves to execute that strategy efficiently. Style refers to the leadership approach and communication methods that shape our organizational tone. Culture is the shared values and beliefs that influence how we work together day to day. People are obviously at the core. They're our talent, our drivers of success. Now, an important point to emphasize is that incentives must align with strategy and goals. If our rewards and recognition systems don't support our strategic objectives, we're likely to see misalignment and missed opportunities. This is where the integrative framework comes in. It helps us connect these elements seamlessly. By aligning strategy, structure, style, culture, people, and incentives, we create a cohesive environment that drives sustainable success. This holistic approach ensures that all parts of the organization work in harmony toward common objectives, which is essential for achieving our overall vision. Let's take a closer look at some of the structures that foster innovation within organizations. First, an organic structure is generally preferred because it promotes flexibility and adaptability. Unlike rigid hierarchies, organic structures allow teams to respond quickly to changes and new ideas. Next, low formalization is key. When rules and procedures are minimal, employees have more freedom to experiment and collaborate without being bogged down by bureaucracy. This openness encourages creative thinking and swift decision-making. Decentralized decision-making is another important aspect. Instead of decisions being made solely at the top, power is distributed across various levels. This empowers employees closest to the issues to act swiftly and contribute their insights, which often leads to more innovative solutions. Cross-functional collaboration ties all of these elements together. When teams from different departments work together, they bring diverse perspectives and expertise. This diversity sparks fresh ideas and helps develop well-rounded, innovative approaches. Altogether, these structures, favoring organic, flexible, and collaborative environments are essential for fostering innovation and keeping organizations agile in a competitive landscape. Let's take a closer look at the functional structure at the top level. This approach emphasizes deep expertise concentration, meaning that specialized teams focus intensely on their core areas. This setup allows each function to develop a high level of mastery, which is essential for maintaining quality and consistency. Additionally, it enables strong, centralized product control, where decision-making and oversight are concentrated at the top. This centralization helps ensure that the overall vision and standards are upheld across the organization. By having this structure, companies can drive design excellence and foster innovation more effectively. When the key functions are aligned and focused, they can push the boundaries of creativity and develop groundbreaking products. To illustrate this, let's consider the case of Apple. Apple's success has largely been driven by this kind of functional structure, where specialized teams work under a centralized vision to deliver innovative, high-quality products that set industry standards. Let's take a closer look at different organizational structures. On one hand, we have the mechanistic approach, which is quite rigid and hierarchical. This kind of structure emphasizes clear lines of authority and standardized procedures, which can be efficient but often less adaptable. On the other hand, there's the organic structure, which is much more flexible and adaptive. It encourages collaboration, innovation, and quick responses to change. And this is a key point. Innovation tends to thrive in organic environments. When organizations are flexible and open to new ideas, they create a fertile ground for creativity and breakthrough solutions. So, understanding the differences between mechanistic and organic structures helps us see how organizational design impacts innovation and overall agility. This sets the foundation for exploring how we can position our organizations to be more innovative and adaptable in today's fast-paced world. When it comes to managing innovation within organizations, one of the most critical challenges is balancing exploitation and exploration. Exploitation is about leveraging existing capabilities and efficiencies to maximize current performance. Exploration, on the other hand, involves seeking out new opportunities, experimenting with novel ideas, and taking risks to foster future growth. To do this effectively, many successful companies establish separate innovation units. These units focus solely on exploring new possibilities without being hampered by the demands of the core business. This separation allows them to be more agile, creative, and willing to take risks. At the same time, it's essential to maintain the efficiency of the core business. This ensures that while you're exploring new avenues, your main operations remain strong, profitable, and sustainable. This dual approach is what we call creating ambidextrous organizations, entities that can successfully manage both exploitation and exploration simultaneously. They are structured in a way that enables them to innovate boldly while still optimizing their current operations. By embracing this balance, organizations can stay competitive today and innovate for tomorrow. It's a key part of the overall theme of adaptive, resilient business strategies in a rapidly changing landscape. Now, let's look at how our company has shifted its focus from primarily hardware to a more service-oriented approach. This change is crucial because it allows us to better meet the evolving needs of our clients and stay competitive in a rapidly changing market. To support this new direction, we've also created new innovation units. These teams are dedicated to developing innovative solutions and exploring new business models, which are essential for our growth. In addition, we've reorganized our structure to better align with our digital strategy. This means breaking down silos and fostering more collaboration across departments, ensuring we can execute our digital initiatives more effectively. To illustrate how these changes are playing out in the real world, let's look at a case study: IBM's transformation. IBM has gone through a similar journey, shifting from a traditional hardware company to a leader in cloud and AI services. Their experience highlights the importance of strategic reorganization and innovation in driving successful transformation. This case underscores that embracing change at a structural level is key to thriving in the digital age. Human capital really drives execution. It's the people behind the strategy who make things happen, so investing in the right talent is crucial. Skills need to match the strategic needs of the organization, meaning we have to ensure our teams possess the capabilities that align with our goals. Leadership capability is also critical because strong leaders set the direction, motivate teams, and drive performance. Ultimately, people should be viewed as strategic assets, valuable resources that can give us a competitive advantage when managed properly. When we focus on developing our human capital in these ways, we're better positioned to succeed and achieve our strategic objectives. Let's talk about how to effectively align rewards with your overall strategy. When rewards are linked directly to performance, They become powerful motivators that reinforce the behaviors and outcomes you want to see. This means designing incentives that are clearly tied to specific goals and results. Performance-based incentives are a key part of this approach. They encourage employees to focus on measurable achievements, creating a direct connection between effort and reward. This not only boosts productivity, but also fosters a culture of accountability and excellence. Recognition and career development are equally important. Recognizing employees' efforts publicly and offering opportunities for growth help sustain motivation over the long term. People want to feel valued and see a path forward in their careers, which keeps them engaged and committed to your strategic goals. Ultimately, motivation plays a crucial role in strategy implementation. When your reward system aligns with your strategy, it energizes your team, drives desired behaviors, and ensures everyone is working toward common objectives. This alignment transforms motivation from a personal trait into a strategic tool for success. Let's talk about building a high-performance culture, which is really the backbone of successful organizations. One key element is the freedom and responsibility philosophy. This approach encourages employees to take ownership of their work, fostering innovation and accountability simultaneously. Alongside this, many companies implement a talent density strategy. Essentially, this means recruiting and retaining top-tier talent because the overall performance of the team improves when high-caliber individuals are in the mix. To support this, aggressive performance management becomes crucial. It's about setting high standards, providing honest feedback, and ensuring everyone is aligned with the company's goals. This continuous push for excellence keeps the organization dynamic and competitive. For example, if we look at Netflix, they exemplify this high-performance culture perfectly. They empower employees, expect high performance, and are unapologetic about maintaining a rigorous talent strategy. All of these elements tie together to create an environment where excellence is the norm and innovation thrives. This approach directly supports our overall theme of cultivating organizational agility and resilience in a rapidly changing business landscape. Let's take a closer look at how our recruitment process is closely aligned to our overall strategy. This means that when we're hiring, we're not just filling vacancies. We're selecting talent that supports our long-term goals and vision for the organization. Next, succession planning plays a vital role here. It ensures that we're preparing for the future by identifying and developing high potential employees who can step into key roles when needed. This creates a seamless transition and maintains organizational stability. Training and capability building are also essential components. We recognize that investing in our people's development not only enhances their skills, but also boosts overall performance and engagement. It's about creating a learning culture that sustains growth. Finally, strategic staffing is about making deliberate, data-driven decisions on how we allocate our human resources. It aligns our staffing levels and skills mix with our strategic priorities, ensuring we have the right people in the right roles at the right time. All of these elements, recruitment, succession planning, training, and strategic staffing, work together to build a resilient, capable, and future-ready organization that's aligned with our overall strategy. Now let's talk about some of the common implementation failures that can really derail a project. First, poor leadership alignment. When leaders aren't on the same page or fail to communicate a clear vision, it creates confusion and disengagement across the team. Without strong, aligned leadership, even the best plans can falter. Next, cultural resistance plays a huge role. If the organization's culture is resistant to change, it can slow down or block progress entirely. People tend to stick with what they know, so overcoming this resistance is crucial for successful implementation. Then we have wrong incentive systems. When rewards and recognition aren't aligned with the desired changes, it sends mixed signals. People might be motivated to maintain the status quo rather than embrace new ways of working. Unclear authority structures can also cause major issues. When it's not clear who has decision-making power or accountability, confusion and delays often follow. Clarity here helps ensure that everyone knows their roles and responsibilities. All of these issues, poor leadership alignment, cultural resistance, wrong incentives, and unclear authority, are common pitfalls that can trip up even well-planned initiatives. Recognizing and addressing them early on is key to ensuring smoother implementation and better outcomes. When leadership lacks vision, clear direction, or decisive decision-making, it creates a lot of uncertainty within the team. Without a clear sense of where we're headed, it's hard for employees to stay motivated or aligned with organizational goals. Inconsistent communication only makes things worse, leading to confusion and misunderstandings. When leaders struggle to motivate or influence their teams, it can result in low morale and a disconnect between what's expected and what's actually happening. Failing to resolve conflicts and build trust further undermines the foundation of effective leadership. When trust is lacking, collaboration suffers, and we see more misalignment and disengagement. All of these issues combine to create a cycle of poor leadership that ultimately hampers performance and growth. This is why strong, clear leadership is so crucial. It sets the tone, clarifies the path forward, and fosters a healthy, motivated work environment. Without it, organizational success becomes much harder to achieve. Let's talk about some of the core resource challenges that organizations face. One major issue is an insufficient budget, manpower, or technology. When these are lacking, it becomes difficult to support day-to-day operations effectively. Without enough resources, teams often struggle to keep up with demands. Furthermore, inadequate tools and systems can really hinder productivity. If the technology isn't up to the task, it slows everything down and creates bottlenecks. This leads to overworked staff who become burnt out and prone to mistakes. When people are stretched too thin, the quality of work suffers and errors increase. All of these issues, limited resources and overburdened staff, also put a cap on innovation, growth, and overall performance. If you're constantly firefighting, there's little room to think creatively or plan for expansion. This can cause delays and poor execution of projects, which ultimately affects the organization's success. So the lack of resources isn't just a minor hiccup. It has a ripple effect that impacts the entire operation, making it harder to achieve goals and stay competitive. Addressing these resource gaps is crucial for building a resilient and high-performing organization. Resistance to change is a common challenge we face, and at the core of it are some key fears. Employees often fear uncertainty and losing control, which makes them hesitant to embrace new initiatives. When change isn't communicated clearly or when stakeholders aren't engaged effectively, this fear only grows. If the organizational culture isn't supportive of new ideas, if it's resistant to innovation, then adopting new processes becomes even slower. This slow adoption can lead to project failures and inefficiencies that impact the overall success of our efforts. So, understanding and addressing these human and cultural barriers is crucial if we want to foster a more adaptable and resilient organization. Let's start by understanding that even the best strategies can fall flat if they are not implemented properly. A plan on paper means little if it's not executed effectively, so execution is key. Next, I want to highlight that alignment within an organization actually determines our competitive advantage. When everyone is moving in the same direction and understands how their roles contribute to the overall goals, we become much more agile and resilient. This leads us to the importance of leaders designing the organizational structure strategically. Leaders need to think carefully about how to structure teams, reporting lines, and processes to support strategic objectives. It's not just about hierarchy. It's about creating a structure that fosters collaboration, innovation, and clear accountability. And finally, as we wrap up, remember that a well-designed strategy coupled with effective implementation and aligned structure is what ultimately drives success. Leaders play a critical role in shaping this, and understanding how to align these elements is essential for gaining and maintaining a competitive edge. And that wraps up Chapter 8. We've covered some really important concepts here, and I hope you found the material engaging and insightful. Remember, the key points to take away are how these ideas connect to the larger themes we've discussed throughout this presentation. Understanding these fundamentals helps us see the bigger picture and apply what we've learned more effectively. Thanks for your attention, and I look forward to continuing our journey in the next chapter.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now reached the end of Chapter 8. Before we conclude today's lecture, I would like us to take a few minutes to reflect on everything we have learned about structures for innovation and why this chapter is so important in strategic management. When many people hear the word innovation, they immediately think about new technology, artificial intelligence, robots, or the latest inventions. However, after studying this chapter, we now understand that innovation is much more than creating new products. Innovation begins with people. It depends on leadership, organizational structure, culture, motivation, and the ability of an organization to implement its strategy successfully. This is probably the biggest lesson from today's chapter. A brilliant idea alone does not guarantee success. An organization must also create the right environment that allows innovation to grow and strategic plans to be implemented effectively. Looking back at the chapter, let's briefly review everything we have discussed today. At the beginning of this chapter, we introduced the integrative framework. We learned that successful organizations cannot focus on only one element. Instead, strategy, structure, management style, organizational culture, people, and incentive systems must all work together. Think of an organization like the human body. Our brain cannot function effectively without the heart. The heart cannot function without the lungs. Every organ has a different role, but they all work together to keep the body alive. Organizations work in exactly the same way. A strong strategy alone is not enough. A good organizational structure alone is not enough. Excellent employees alone are not enough. Real success happens only when all these elements support one another. This is why alignment is so important in strategic management. Innovation needs the right environment. Next, we discussed structures for innovation. One of the biggest lessons we learned is that innovation requires flexibility. Organizations that encourage innovation usually adopt organic structures rather than rigid mechanistic structures. Why? Because organic organizations encourage communication. Employees can share ideas freely. Decision-making is decentralized. Different departments collaborate with one another. People are encouraged to experiment and solve problems creatively. In contrast, highly bureaucratic organizations may struggle to innovate because employees become too focused on following rules rather than generating new ideas. This teaches us that innovation is not only about hiring creative people. Organizations must also create an environment where creativity is welcomed, balancing innovation and efficiency. Another interesting topic was the concept of ambidextrous organizations. This idea teaches us that successful organizations must perform two activities at the same time. First, they must continue improving their existing business. Second, they must prepare for the future by exploring new opportunities. This balance is not easy. If organizations focus only on current operations, they may become efficient but fail to innovate. If they focus only on innovation, they may lose control over daily operations. Successful organizations therefore balance exploitation and exploration. This balance is one reason why companies such as IBM successfully transform themselves from hardware manufacturers into global technology and consulting companies. They did not abandon their existing strengths. Instead, they gradually developed new capabilities while maintaining operational excellence. People are the most important strategic asset. Perhaps one of the most important lessons from this chapter is that people are strategic assets. Technology can be purchased. Buildings can be constructed. Machines can be replaced. However, talented employees, experienced managers, innovative thinkers, and effective leaders cannot be copied easily by competitors. This is why organizations invest heavily in recruitment, employee development, succession planning, leadership training, and continuous learning. The right people make the right decisions. The right leaders inspire employees. The right culture encourages innovation. Ultimately, people transform strategic plans into real organizational performance. Remember this important statement. Strategies do not implement themselves. People implement strategies. Motivation and strategic staffing. We also discussed motivation and strategic staffing. Employees perform better when reward systems support organizational objectives. Organizations should recognize good performance, provide career development opportunities, and ensure employees understand how their work contributes to organizational success. Similarly, strategic staffing ensures organizations recruit the right people, develop their skills, and place them in positions where they can contribute most effectively. Successful organizations do not simply hire employees. They build future leaders. Why strategies fail. Finally, we examine several common reasons why strategy implementation fails. Interestingly, most organizations do not fail because they have poor strategies. Instead, they fail because they cannot implement those strategies effectively. Throughout today's discussion, we identified several major challenges: poor leadership, lack of resources, resistance to change, poor communication, unsupportive organizational culture. Each of these problems prevents organizations from translating strategic plans into successful results. This is an important lesson for every future manager. Developing a strategy is only the beginning. The real challenge is implementation. As we often say in strategic management, a strategy only creates value when it is successfully executed. Lessons from the case studies. Throughout this chapter, we also learned from several successful companies. We discussed Apple, where a functional organizational structure supports product excellence and innovation. We examined IBM, which transformed its organizational structure to support digital strategy and long-term growth. We looked at Netflix, where a high-performance culture and the philosophy of freedom and responsibility encourage accountability, innovation, and outstanding performance. These companies operate in different industries, but they all share one common characteristic. Their organizational structures support their strategic objectives. Once again, we can see the connection between strategy, people, leadership, and organizational design. A message for future managers. Now I'd like to leave you with an important message. As future managers, entrepreneurs, engineers, accountants, consultants, or business leaders, many of you will eventually be responsible for leading organizational change. You may introduce new technology, develop new products, restructure departments, expand internationally, or lead digital transformation projects. When that happens, remember that successful change is never only about technology. It is about people. Your employees need to understand the vision. They need to trust your leadership. They need adequate training. They need the right resources. Most importantly, they need to believe that the change will benefit both the organization and themselves. Good leaders therefore spend just as much time communicating with people as they do planning strategies. Final reflection. Before we finish today's lecture, I'd like everyone to think about one final question. Imagine two companies have exactly the same strategy. Both have similar financial resources. Both use similar technology. Both operate in the same industry. However, one company has supportive leadership, motivated employees, an innovative culture, effective communication, and an organizational structure that encourages collaboration. The other company lacks all these qualities. Which company is more likely to succeed? I think the answer is obvious. The first company will almost certainly outperform the second. Not because its strategy is different, but because it has created an organization capable of implementing that strategy successfully. This is perhaps the biggest lesson from Chapter 8. Innovation is not created by technology alone. Innovation is created when strategy, leadership, structure, culture, and people work together toward the same organizational goals. Final closing. This brings us to the end of Chapter 8, Structures for Innovation. Throughout today's lecture, we have learned that successful organizations do not achieve competitive advantage through strategy alone. They achieve it by designing organizational structures that support innovation, developing capable leaders, motivating employees, managing change effectively, and ensuring every part of the organization works together toward the same objectives. I hope this chapter has helped you understand that innovation is not simply about creating something new. It is about creating an organization that is capable of adapting, learning, and continuously improving in an ever-changing business environment. Thank you very much for your attention throughout today's lecture. I hope the knowledge you have gained from this chapter will not only help you in your examinations, but also prepare you to become effective managers and leaders in the future. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.